All right. All right. How's it going? Grace and peace to the saints of the Most High God. Salute to the stewards of the oracles of the prophets. I greet you all in the name of the Most High God, Yah, His blessed Son, Yeshua, HaMashiach, our Yahawashi, and His divine spirit through Ruach Kadesh. Let's get straight into it. Me and my wife are no longer pastors at Harvest Vineyard Church. Many of y'all know about that already. Some of you guys don't, but we're not. And the reasons for that are bigger than Harvest Vineyard Church. It is the long and short is this, is that the church got exposed. All that rallying, all the I don't see color, I don't see race, all of the little bullet points that everybody would say about well, Martin Luther King said you should judge a person by the content of his character and not the color of his skin. The church, after not supporting Martin Luther King to the point where he had to basically ally himself with a lot of liberal elements in the society, he was rejected. His greatest opposers was the white evangelical church. And after his assassination, it was unconscionable to still hold on to those racist feelings, or at least not out in the open, you see. And then the church basically skated for the next 30 years talking about how anti-racist it was, anti-this, how all of a sudden they had seen the light, and somehow Jesus was the answer for all of the foolishness. Meanwhile, every president put their hand on a Bible and made sure that slavery continued, made sure that Reconstruction was overturned, made sure that segregation was upheld and pushed forward and so forth. All these Christian elements, these white Christian elements, kept these oppressive and repressive systems alive and well. And after the unjust slaying of Michael Brown, the unjust slaying of Tamir Rice, and the list just goes on and on and on. After all of that, the church had an opportunity to make good on this newfound revelation that they said they had. And what we found out was that the church had in fact not changed its position, but then basically doubled down on everything that they said that they were against. Well, I don't see color. You saw color when it came down to it. BLM was not an issue so long as the B stood for blue. You feel me? And after doing my best, my wife and I, to have these conversations, and mind you, we're not alone. We're not the only people standing on the front lines, waving the bloodstained banner saying that Jesus Christ is the way. He basically is the only way that you will ever see the human. Under his banner is the only example of the human family coming together in absolute unity. The book of Revelation said an innumerable host of Gentiles, all races, nations, tribes, and tongues coming together. And we understood that it was kicked to us that the church had always believed this. But when you go back, the church had never really practiced this. They said it, but then black people were not allowed in their services. Even during the famous Azusa Street revival, black people were forced to sit on the outside. And even while ushering in the revelation, even while ushering in the Holy Spirit, we're still not counted among the body of believers as equal members. Okay, so here we are. Man, it is terrible. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking. You can't begin to understand the betrayal, the lies. I know people personally in my life who, because of this fiasco, because of all this foolishness, have basically thrown their hands in the air and said, I want nothing more to do with Christianity. I want nothing more to do even with Christ. If this is how his people, his followers, his doctrine, if this is how all this stuff plays out, when you get down to the get down, when you get down to the nitty gritty, when you actually have to walk out the stuff that you talk about, and what you saw was the exact opposite of what everybody said that they believed in, which was universal brotherhood and so forth, people couldn't, it's hard to stomach the foolishness. And so naturally, a lot of people ran away from the church. And my wife and I tried to hold the line and give people the benefit of the doubt, which was that maybe they don't understand. Maybe standing where they stood, maybe they couldn't see what it was that we saw. Now, this is a huge benefit of the doubt because I don't understand how you could not see it. But let me just give you the benefit of the doubt. Let me just take my time and try to explain it to you. Let me explain it to you. And what I realized was that it wasn't that people didn't want to understand. They didn't want to hear it. There was no context in which it was acceptable to talk about this. You could say it from the pulpit. They didn't want to hear it. You can make a Facebook post about it. They didn't want to hear it. You could peacefully kneel before the football game, mind you, not even advertising what it was all about, but just taking a personal stand like Brother Colin Kaepernick did. And here come the world gonna be what the world is gonna be. So you got a bunch of racist people in the world, so be it. I'm not expecting high moral standards from people in the world. They haven't subscribed to my moral standard, which is the Bible, but it was the Christians that surprised me. And in collective unison, they all came together to basically deny the sufferings of black people, to discredit and even conflate what our issues were even about, all with the intention of putting their fingers in their ear saying, la, 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 we don't want to hear it. And so after holding the line for as long as we did, it got to the point where Christianity, Western evangelicalism particularly, just, for me to be a part of it is for me to co-sign or to somehow give validation to what this thing is standing for. So for all of our efforts, it got to the point where, like Martin Luther, when he tried to bring the knowledge of justification to the Catholic Church, tried to highlight some of the things that were skewed in their doctrine and in their practice. When he saw that it was a fruitless task to change people, and in fact, rather than turning to the truth, they turned on you. That's what Martin Luther King realized. And there's a lot of churches out here who have flourished because they have either failed to discuss these issues, or they have aligned themselves with the antagonists in this saga. They have aligned themselves with them, and they have been able to flourish. They have been able to prosper. And those who held the line on righteousness and on justice and on what it truly means to be Christ-centered were rejected. It doesn't bother me in the sense that I have accepted the fact that this is what comes along with being a truth teller. You know, it's what comes along. You have to know that you're going to take your lumps, so be it. We took our lumps, we took our stripes, we did what we had to do, and so be it. But as far as attempting to supposedly convert people over to the revelation of brotherhood and unity and to stand up against injustice, all the things that the Bible promotes. I've come to set the captives free. I've come to bring truth and all this other stuff. When you realize that people don't want to hear it, they ain't trying to hear it, and they only accept you if you go somewhere and you bleed and you cry over there in the corner where they can't see it, where your struggle is not interrupting their bliss and their ignorance, then you're accepted. It's like when that becomes the order of the day, it's time to leave. So me and my wife decided that we can no longer identify with these body of believers who feel this way. Mind you, this isn't a personal attack against any individuals, but what happened at our church was a microcosm of the macro narrative that was going on throughout the nation. And as a final protest, we have decided to continue to wave the bloodstained banner of Jesus Christ while stepping away from those who have yoked themselves with what we believe to be wickedness and blatant racism. So if you want to know why we're not there, That's why I went out there. Grace and peace.